priceless. Anyway, back to the green peas. I saw these green peas in the grocery store and I had a vision. And my vision was a soup with a basil broth and whole green peas and whole potato. And I came home and started researching basil, potato, pea soups. And to my surprise, nothing was coming up.
Hello again and welcome back to my channel. First, I'd like to thank all of you who subscribed to my channel because we just passed 100 subscribers, which is great. Thank you again for all of you who hit the subscribe button. It really means the world to me. It makes me so happy and keeps me motivated to go forward. It's 2 days before Christmas, so I didn't want to film anything serious. I wanted to do some kind of a cooking video. And then I stumbled across Emma Chamberlain's video where she makes soup from green peas. And I thought to myself, this is now my time to shine, because I am kind of a green peas expert, as weird as it sounds, because green peas are my favorite food. I love everything made of green peas. My husband keeps making fun of me that the top of gastronomy for me are green peas, which is kind of true. And I also happen to come from a country where soup has a very, very long tradition. We pretty much eat soup every single day. A typical Hungarian lunch will consist of soup and then something solid like meat with potatoes or rice or something. And I'm not talking about cream soup here, I'm talking about watery soup with full chunks of vegetables and or meat. So I think it's safe to assume that we have pretty good knowledge on how to make good soup. It was really surprising for me to see that she couldn't find the recipe she was looking for, because if I type in green pea soup in my own language, I will probably find 10,000 different recipes to make. But then again, it's because soup is very much part of our cuisine, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the same with other countries. So I thought that today I would make one of the simplest but most delicious green pea soup recipes that I know. And of course, this video is not really made for Emma Chamberlain. I don't think she will ever see this. I just hope that some people will see this and find this interesting. So for anyone asking, I live in a small country in Central Europe. We might be small and might not have contributed much to the world, but our cuisine is great. So the soup itself is very simple. It contains like 3 or 4 ingredients, and even a 5-year-old could make it. But I'm also gonna make grits dumplings with it, which is a very unique thing to where I live. I think we all grew up eating it and we all learned the recipe from our grandmothers, and we'll teach our grandchildren how to make it. So obviously the first thing you'll need for this soup are green peas. I'm going to use 1 kilogram of frozen green peas and also some baby carrots or spring carrots or whatever these are called. These should be half the amount as the green peas. Also, I'm going to put all the ingredients down in the description, and I'm going to convert the measurements too in case other people are not using the same unit. So we're going to start with putting some oil into the pan, and once it's heated up, we're going to add the frozen green peas. Then we put a little salt in it and let it heat up on medium heat. And once that's done, we just pour in like 2 liters of water and the baby carrots and let it boil for half an hour to 45 minutes over medium to high heat. So this was the easy part. Now let's get into the more tricky things. I'm going to make the grits dumplings now, which seems easy, but actually it's very hard to find a balance so that it's soft enough but also doesn't fall apart. My dumplings usually don't fall apart, but they are also a bit too hard. So I'm going to try to go for a softer consistency now. I'm not sure it will work, but I hope to at least get the YouTuber's luck where it only happens right once you're filming and then you can never do it again. But I mean, I would totally be okay with that because that's normally something that my husband would do because he's better at cooking. So even if I can only do it right this one time, I will be very happy. Now you see, it's hard in itself to do it right, and I'm even going to go for a harder version because I have a recipe from my husband's grandmother that will make a better result at the end if you do it right, but it's also harder to do right. So am I going to be able to make that? I don't know. We'll see. So you will need 2 eggs for the dumplings, and the easier way to do it is to mix the 2 eggs together and then start adding grits until the consistency turns thicker but it still remains liquidy. So if you put some on your spoon and pour it out, it still pours out like a liquid. A bit similar to the consistency of honey. And then you have to put it in the fridge for like 3 to 5 minutes before you can start cooking it in the pan. But I'm going to make the harder version, and I'm going to separate the egg yolks from the egg whites, and I'm going to whisk the egg whites and make it into a foam, pouring the grits only in the egg yolks, and then at the end mixing the egg yolks and the egg white foam together. This way it will be a lot lighter and softer, but it's also at risk of falling apart, and it's harder to find a balance how much grits you need for the eggs. So if you're using my method and putting the grits in the egg yolks only, you need to get a kind of toothpaste-like consistency. It obviously needs to be thicker than if you're pouring the grits in the egg whites and egg yolks too, because for us the egg whites will come in later and that will loosen up the mix. You'll need to be quick at this point because the grits will start growing once they get in contact with moisture. I obviously made a mistake here because my mix was too hard by the time I put it in the egg whites, so I put it back into the mixer for a little bit, and then since it was still very soft and liquidy, I added some grits to make the consistency right. So this is how it's supposed to look once it's done. I added a little salt and put it in the fridge for 5 minutes. So a few minutes have passed, I have the mix, I have some boiling salty water on the stove, and I'm going to get spoonfuls of the mix and put them into the water and wait until they grow a little before I take them out. Well, they didn't fall apart, so this is a good sign already. I'm going to let them cook for a good 5 minutes, and in the meantime, I'm going to make the thickening for the soup, which is the last thing we're going to add, and then the whole thing is done. To be honest, I have no idea if this is something that needs to be explained, because this is a very basic thing, but it might just be basic for us because we use it a lot, and there might be other nations who don't use it at all. But then again, it might be very obvious to everyone, and then people will just look at me like, why are you explaining to me the obvious? But I'm gonna explain it anyway, just in case someone's not familiar with how it's made. So basically the thickening is to make the soup thicker, have a richer taste. So what we do is we heat up some oil, and again, this is about finding the balance between how much oil and how much flour you're putting in, because it needs to become a creamy consistency. Otherwise it will be chunky and you will find like big chunks of flour in your food, which you don't want. So you basically need to heat up the oil, put enough flour and paprika in it that it makes a creamy consistency, cook it for about 30 seconds, but be very cautious not to burn it, and then mix it with cold running water before pouring it into the soup. Just a pro tip that I learned the hard way: when you start making the thickening, already have the tap open. It helps a lot because otherwise the whole thing can burn down just until you find the right amount of water to run from the tap. Remember when I said we have not contributed much to the world? Well, one thing we did contribute is paprika. Even the word paprika comes from Hungarian. It means pepper. We use it for any kind of peppers, bell pepper, chili pepper. And I believe that the spice itself originates from Mexico, but we perfected it and named it. So now this is how it's known around the world. So you're welcome. And now the moment of truth. Let's see how the dumplings turned out. This is really good. This is actually good. I mean, I thought I just made up the YouTuber's luck thing, but that actually works. This is the first time I ever made this right. This is really good. Oh my god, I'm so impressed with myself. I'm gonna marry myself right now. So we have reached the end of the video. As you can tell, it's already pitch black outside, the sun has set. This is why I hate shooting in winter. I promise you, once summer comes, all my videos will have great quality, but until then we're stuck with this. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos like that, please let me know in the comments, because I love cooking. So I would be really excited to make some more cooking videos if you're interested, even if it's traditional food from my country, trying out new foods from other countries. I would love doing all of these. And also, when I told my husband that I was going to shoot this video, he got very excited and said that he also wanted to make like a traditional goulash soup and stuff like that. So if you're also interested in cooking videos, please let me know. Obviously, I'm not gonna turn my channel into a cooking channel, but this is something I like doing, so I'd love to make more of this in the future. So again, thank you very much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a wonderful Christmas, and I will see you next week. Bye.